This episode has been a long time coming. My guest today is Captain Ralph Suppa, a special operations firefighter, a decorated leader, and someone that I've had the privilege of calling a friend for nearly a decade. We met the hard way through a Go Rock event in the freezing rain and driving snow, and I've watched Ralph tackle everything in his life the same way he approaches the job. Head on, with grit, humility, and a relentless drive to grow. In this conversation, we go deep into his early days in the fire service, the mentors who shaped him, the lessons learned from failure, and what true brotherhood really looks like. This is raw, unfiltered, and packed with lessons for anyone who wears the badge. Let's get into it.
Welcome to the Keep the Promise podcast, where we help build resilient and well-rounded firefighters.
I'm super pumped to have a good friend of mine whom I've known for close to, if not 10 years, then like at least 10 years. We met under some interesting circumstances, and this man is a fellow special operations nerd, just nerd all around, a glutton for punishment, a fire service captain, and a dude whose advice, whose mentorship I always appreciate, and whose thought on life and the world I always welcome. So without further ado, my boy, Ralph Suppa. Ralph, buddy, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. The irony is that I feel everything you said is what I would say about you. And I was like, oh, you're introducing yourself about the podcast that I want to say about you.
That is a bold-faced lie. The people who know me are like, yeah, this guy Ralph is on crack.
See, that's where they know that I'm telling the truth. And I am honored to be here and very excited, and I'm grateful. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Thanks for being here. You've also been one of the longest standing members of the Keep the Promise community on Patreon for a couple of reasons, but we are glad to still have you on board, going on like 3 years now. All right, let's get into this because I know you're a busy guy, as I'm sure we'll unpack as we go. I know about Ralph, whom I met in 2015, but I just knew that you were a fireman at the time, right? I had no idea about your history, your upbringing, anything of the sort. Take me back to what led you into the fire service, how you got involved in it, and what your initial years were like as you started down this path.
No, great question. I wanted to get into being a paramedic ever since I was little. And I know that's where most people are like, click, done.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for listening to the fastest episode of the Keep the Promise podcast.
And I don't know where it spouts from. Maybe it was watching Rescue 911. Maybe it was, I had numerous times where the fire department showed up to either my house or the friend's house. But I think it was 6th grade, it was like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I wanted to be a paramedic and read a book about it, did a project on it. Growing up, one of my good friends, like later on, and unfortunately he passed away from cancer at 38. His mom was a paramedic, and her and I would just get into discussions while over their house. And I think it just goes back to, I just wanted to help people. And I know that sounds like a cliche, but I promise that's really what it is. So that's kind of what it was. For me, early in my career, I started volunteering, was a live-in at a station in the county I worked for. And then, lucky enough, was able to get hired by having some good mentors and people guide me through that process. And one of the things that I remember most was in the academy, I was that 19-year-old punk kid. In the class leader's speech, he was like, yeah, and if you're doing something wrong, just wait for Ralph to, distract the instructors and get the RTOs attacking him. And pretty much that's continued for my 20-year career. But I went to bed the night before my first shift and could not sleep, woke up in a drenching sweat, like, did I make a mistake? Oh my gosh. So then I show up exhausted day one, I had an acting officer I immensely respect him. He's actually the captain at our training academy now. And I show up and he's like, "What's wrong with you?" And I was like, "I mean, I brought donuts, you know." And I was like, he's like, "Go lay down." And I was like, I can't lay down. And this is where he taught me, you'll learn something about everyone you work for, how you want to be and how you don't want to be. So, you know, that was day one. I had great mentors and senior leaders as soon as I got on the job, and they helped really develop me more so into who I am. I went to the busiest house in the county to start off, and it was great. We were on 24/48s my first year and a half, and I just had a blast running, you know, call after call. So that was my start. And then one of those moments that tested me early on, there's two moments. One was a pediatric arrest, probably in the first month or two of my career. And I can go back to this day and, you know, those who've experienced it, I think we all have. I can still recall everything. I can hear the brothers screaming. And I'll never forget, got home, because it was first thing in the morning coming off. We were getting ready to come off a shift, but I just happened to jump on. And the guys from my crew called me throughout that day and the next day just to check on me and whatnot. And again, like that to me was huge. And that's how I grew up. So I try to continue that, not to solve the problems, but just be there. And, you know, that was Gary Utz, who's since retired from us, but I still talk to him. He was a 35-year fireman. And just like, I am forever grateful for everything that, you know, he's taught me and continues to teach me. And then something where you and I were discussing this, one of my first calls in special operations was a pretty significant hazmat call. And I got scared and cowered. And the next shift, I got called into the office. And my lieutenant at the time, he's a captain now with us, Chris Kane, was like, "Okay, what happened?" And he wasn't even on the call. He just kind of heard about it. And I was like, "Well, I cowered. I was scared." And he's like, "Well, what are you going to do next time?" And I was like, "Next time I'm going to step up." He's like, "Good." And that was something where they could have thrown me off the team. And I told him I didn't want to do hazmat. And as we'll get into it later, like, I now have my own, I'm part of it.
The irony.
Yeah, and that's where that's a great leader and mentor. That surely changed the trajectory of my life.
And it's interesting that you mentioned that having that sort of leader and that sort of mentor, because I will give you my experience. That was totally different. I fucked up royally at a fire, and we had a detail officer. And by the time my regularly assigned, you know, your regularly scheduled officer came back, there was no, "Hey, let's talk about what happened. Hey, tell me what you did. Tell me what you didn't do." His mind was already set. Everything was already done. There was no input on my side. The grapevine was already working full steam ahead behind the scenes. They're like things that you know, they start taking a life of their own. And while I didn't have that leadership from that officer, because he just wrote me off immediately, the senior guy who was driving me at the time literally like stormed into that office and was like, "You fuckheads are not even giving him a chance to explain what happened, and you're all writing him off. You're all pieces of shit." And maybe not the best approach, but I really appreciate that, because leadership comes in so many different flavors. And that was a moment of leadership where I was able to look at that man and be like, "You know what? You will have my back. If I fuck up, you're going to teach me through it." And he did. On scene that night, he pulled me aside and we talked. And, well, he did all the talking. I mostly just sulked because I had fucked up. But it's awesome to have somebody that will pull you aside like you had and talk to you and say, "Okay, As long as we are clear on the expectations, as long as we are all on the same page, let's go, because we can't get in our time machine and fix the past. So let's go to Go Rock, because I think that's defining of who you are. We met at the
Oh, more so than you know, because I think I'm going to surprise you with a answer I give.
Oh God, you're gonna tell me you hate physical fitness, and this whole thing is gonna fall apart. I think it was Baldrick's 2015 that we met, because I feel that was our biggest event ever. When it was cold, snowy, rainy, sleety, and when I got to know you after the fact, I just remember thinking, oh yeah, he took to this event like a pig to mud. Like, he loves this kind of shit. Is this how you approach life? Is this is this indicative of how you look at things?
Real quick before we jump back in. Firefighters don't leave each other behind. We look out for our own. Right now, there's a firefighter out there, maybe a rookie, maybe a seasoned veteran, who needs this podcast. They need the lessons, the mindset, and the training tips. But they'll never get them unless you help them. Here's how you can help right now. On Apple Podcasts, tap the 5 stars, then scroll down and write just a few words about what the show has done for you. On Spotify, tap the 3 dots, select Rate Show, and drop your rating. It takes less than 60 seconds, it costs you nothing, and it helps one more firefighter get better, stronger, and more prepared. We look out for each other. This is one small way that you can pay it forward. All right, back to the show.
I would say it's what I've grown to know as life. And this is where, like, some interesting facts about me are, I was a hypochondriac growing up. I was scared of thunderstorms. I was, I was a wreck. Anxiety really ran my life for a long period of time. And another reason I got into fire service and hazmat was education was kind of the more I know, the more power I could have. And for me, it's just been, I need to attack what I'm afraid of. So if I'm going fully at something, it's probably because I have an underlying fear of it. And that's really a big drive. So for the Go Ruck, cancer scares the bejesus out of me. And, I think there's a balance. And my cousin actually was a St. Baldrick's kid. And she is now, I think my aunt was telling me this, she has survived more chemo than anyone else still alive.
Jesus.
She started battling at age 14 and she just turned 32. And I mean, she still has to, because again, chemo is poison. And her name is Bridget Abed, and she is another reason that I just have immense respect, because we would talk on the phone. I'd be like, "Hey, Bridge, how you doing?" "Oh, I'm good. How are you?" And I'd be like, "Oh, I can't complain." He's like, No, go ahead." And I'm like, "Bridget, I love you. You've been battling cancer for X amount of years. I'm never going to complain to you." But so I knew, St. Baldrick's had a special place in my heart and my family's heart, because I've seen actually where that money goes.
Well, tell us more about St. Baldrick's, because we haven't really talked about it on the podcast, and it's a big part for a lot of our lives. So explain to the listeners, if you will.
Oh man! All right, put me on the spot. I didn't do any prep for this.
But so you've done enough events; you should know this.
I feel like I hope I do it justice. It's a kids cancer foundation. And they have sponsor kids. She was actually a sponsor kid for Georgetown University's medical center at one point. But basically, it's raising money doing shaving your head. You grow your hair out. And again, like you and I kind of
We can't help much.
I've been losing that battle for a long time. So people are like, you know, you don't have the hair on the back of your head, right? It's all on the sides and the chair. But you basically grow your hair out, and then Go Ruck does the light rucks, the 3-4 hour rucks, and that was just an absolute blast. And so St. Baldrick's is basically you sponsor a kid, and it's not necessarily make a wish, but it definitely, like, they sent my family to Japan, and not
For
me, but
for treatment or for fun?
no, for like fun, because she was
Nice.
borderline make a wish. So they sent my aunt, my uncle, and my 2 cousins, and like I said, there was numerous times it was touch and go, and she's still here, and I will be flying down to Florida to see them in August. So
Yeah, the intersection of GoRuck and St. Baldrick's is a pretty unique one, because on the GoRuck side of things, it's that whole, special forces led beatdown session, carry weighted stuff all over a city, get yelled at, yada, yada, yada. And that's a place where a lot of us met, and we're like, oh, we are surrounded by fellow idiots who see the world the same way and enjoy the same suffering. And then St. Baldrick's, like you said, is not quite Make-A-Wish, but it's basically raising money for children's cancer research because it is severely underfunded. And, hats off to Dave Smith out of DC. He was here on episode 25 and 26, so he was one of the OG ones. But he managed to merge both things. He's like, we're going to do a GoRuck event before the St. Baldrick's event. And I think we did it consistently for 10 years, and I believe that every year, at a minimum, our group would raise $100,000+ So if you do the math, I think all combined, we've done at least $1 million in that 10-year span. Which
I want to say you and Dave raised about $500K, just the two of you.
It was mostly Dave. That dude is good at getting them, and he can grow a mane like no other. The rest of us are just struggling, but it was awesome. It felt like getting beat down in the brutal winter for a good cause. And
when they had the kid, and when they had the kids there, you that's when you really were like, oh, I'm just gonna suck it up, Buttercup, because this kid's going through chemo at age whatever, 7, 8, 9, or younger. I remember Anna. I remember Anna, and she loves star jumps. To this day, I think I still
Star burst. I'm like, dude, I'm dying, but I can't say a damn thing because this child is an absolute hero, and that's how a lot of us met. And it's I want to call it a well kept secret, at least for our community in this area in the fire service. Because we did a lot of things, and it wasn't very boastful. It was just like, this is cool. This is pretty badass.
It was very cool. So what I was going to share is I went to go do a Go Ruck challenge, and actually, so Rummy, who we did that Go Ruck in Locust Point,
Baltimore,
in Baltimore. We did one. We were supposed to do one in Annapolis. We did one in Annapolis. And I quit like 2 hours into the actual challenge. Yes, I did. And you want to talk about, I got cold, I got scared, and that is where you learn a lot about yourself. And I remember having to walk back to where my car wasn't even there. I had to call my wife at like 1 o'clock in the morning to come pick me up. And you want to talk about shame and everything. And I just remember being so upset with myself that I quit. And I'm happy to say I came back and did another one. And I did a Baltimore one. So I was able to complete a challenge, but that is again where I think if you look at, it's so easy to look at people's successes. And we've talked about this, and I said this to you earlier. 90% of what I've been able to accomplish is on the shoulders of others. And I've been very blessed that recently I've had some really cool wins and accomplishments, but there is a lot of failures behind those. And I try to also share those. I do show them, because I don't want that Instagram, Facebook facade life where people think it's perfect. It's like, no, there's been plenty of valleys and plenty of failures, throughout my time. And that makes me who I am. But again, I've been blessed enough where, for the most part, I've had good leaders or good people around me, yourself included, who have been like, dude, this is a valley. You're going to pull through. And that's what's helped me grow to new heights. And that's what drives me too, is I want to bring people along with me. And like I said, when you can fail and then come back, that makes the accomplishment even better. And that's why that morning when the sun was rising on Federal Hill and I got to shake Cadre Rob's hand, I still have that picture. And from the failure of the first one and embarrassment, it made that one that much sweeter.
It's not even the event. It's the fact that you were able to surpass that previous obstacle that took you down. Like, you could have replaced that scene with any sort of other thing, any sort of other comeback, your Rocky scene almost. And just being able to get past that, because when you go through it again, after failing at something, you have that extra weight. You're like, oh, this is where I fucked up before. Oh, this is going to prove whether or not I'm good. Like, am I just a continuous failure or... And I think having those leaders is, well, we keep using the word leader, and we're not going to circle jerk this into some like leadership episode, but having the people who help you through those valleys and that darkness is paramount. And I like what you said, that like what you accomplish is on the shoulders of the people around you, which almost takes us perfectly to the next question that I wanted to get into. And that's dealing with the long, arduous, painful process of getting promoted to captain, which happened recently. And you've told me how you found some new friends, some new brothers, and you lost some along the process. So let's focus on the people aspect of this process and tell me more.
Yeah. So, we just had I shouldn't say we had our captain's process recently. And I did well, but that is, again, it goes back to, this was on the back of others who pushed me, and we helped each other. And anyone who's prepping for a promotional process, the one piece of advice that I would give you is find people who are going to bring out the best in you, and realize that while you can call it a competition, it is also, by you making each other better, is just going to make the department and the process better. So some guys that I reached out to confirm that they were okay with me sharing their names on this as shout outs. Some people that I'm truly grateful for. And I'll start with Brian Christopher, he was instrumental in texting me questions and scenarios and us running stuff back and forth. And Steve Lenhoff, another guy, who I would say before the process, and I've said this to him and I've said this to others, before the process, I kind of like knew him, and I was just kind of like, Steve. I love that man. I love all the guys I'm going to mention right now, because it was a support network. Everybody was positive instead of dragging each other down. Adam Mayock, Cecil Bradley, and Matt Arzt. And all those guys also did very well. And I think it was because there was people that we had done, again, if you're doing a promotional process, I'm going to give a shout out, and I have no financial obligation or ties to this, but Ever Safe Promotional. They were we were all part of this group, and there was about 15 or 20. And I would say that there were some people who were really kind of nasty going through that process and kind of tried to tear each other down. And they did, a lot of them didn't do that well. And that's not to throw shade. It's just when you realize that you're trying to build each other up, you're going to go a lot further. And I truly encourage people to be like, yes, it's a competition, but at the end of the day, we're all playing for the same team. And if you approach it with that mindset, you're going to be a lot more successful. And that's not to say that, because this is where like things can get twisted, and I'm sure it will. And there's people who are absolutely great people who didn't do fantastic. And that's not to say that it was like there's always stuff that happens. And there's plenty of people who I actually have talked to them and they're like, you know me, because I'm like, I can't believe this happened. And they're like, well, you know me on a personal level. That's why you're saying this. And there's a lot of people who also, and I didn't talk to them before speaking, so I'm not going to mention their names, but like they did not do as well as I would have hoped, because I love serving with them, and they will in the next round, or, you know, they're great people and they will be successful. Cause I love seeing, and I think we share this, I love seeing good people be successful. And like this, with what you do right here, we've talked about it. I love it because I know your heart and what drives you, and, you know, so.
What makes
but yeah, there was
people.
Wow, that's it. Okay. I feel like I feel like I'm being interviewed. I think what makes it's truly, and this is where I am a man of faith, and we haven't really discussed this much, and I'm not trying to go down this. I'll say it this way. I'm a man of faith, and one of the most important things to me is treat people how you want to be treated. It's, you know, and that doesn't mean just being nice. It is, are you actually looking out for the good overall? And not that it has to be self-sacrificing, but like these guys I went through this process with, when I was successful, they were cheering for me. And there was other people who I thought were brothers and sisters, and they did not cheer for me when I was successful. And it hurt. It still does. And there's people that I thought, again, were friends. And some of the stuff that's come back to me is it's hurt. It hurts. Why? Because I trusted these people. Because I didn't think it was like that. I thought I have an expectation of the brotherhood and sisterhood, and you know, this is where I've had numerous people call me like, "Hey, you should not be sharing this information with so and so. You're too trusting." And if there's, I got told that earlier this morning, like, you're too trusting, you know, and I want to trust that people are inherently good. They are overwhelmingly. And we talked about this kind of earlier too. It's all about perspective. And there was people who thought I was throwing shade at them. And the fact is, I was like, I never even, I'll say this, part of it was wrong. I wasn't thinking about them when I was posting stuff. I was happy and wanted to celebrate, but my celebration hurt them. And that's where it's this weird dichotomy of, to what aspect, right? Should I not celebrate a victory versus, you know, I was like, I wasn't even thinking about you. Or somebody was like, yeah, I thought it was a little weird you posted, you know, this success. And I was like, well, I'm also trying to do a business, so I need to broadcast myself. And they were like, oh, I didn't even think about that. That makes, and I'm like, yeah, I'm not thinking about 15 other people, excuse me. I wanted to share this with my friends, family, and hey, by the way, I would like to be successful in this other realm too. So it was very enlightening. And that's where, again, checking my own ego, because there is that part of it. And it was good and healthy in a few different ways. But these guys, like I said, Brian, Steve, Adam, these guys were like, don't listen to the haters. They were cheering for me the entire time, and I cheer for them. And I really look forward to continuing to serve with them because their hearts are just in the right place. And there's plenty of people, again, who maybe didn't do as well, but 100%, I will go into battle with them, follow them, and yeah.
I want to keep unpacking this because I remember it all stemmed from a post on social media that is pretty innocuous in my mind. Everybody likes to post their wins. That's literally the point of social media. Self-serving circle jerks, okay? Let's get that out there. Why do you think that you need to modulate yourself for the appeasement of others when, as we've established, the whole point of our social media is that self-serving thing? And I say that with the perspective of the people who are coming to you and saying, hey, Ralph, you shouldn't have posted that. They are basically saying, sir, I need you to mold your approach to life based on my observations and my opinions and my thoughts, which to me is absolutely ridiculous. Like when people say, well, things should be this way. I'm like, oh, thank you, sir. I'm glad that you're putting your expectations on a universe that frankly does not give a shit about us. So,
all right, I'll try to answer that. And again, this is where we talked about being raw and real, and I hope you know that I will be.
Without getting fired.
You're right in what you're saying. This to me was also a growth opportunity to take a step back. And, man, the more humility that is delivered to me in life lessons, the more I just, Ted Lasso, be curious, not judgmental. Also Walt Whitman for those. But I really have tried to take a step back. Not always. And I definitely still struggle with this and say, okay, be curious about this. Why is somebody approaching this way? And just recently, I don't think I should have to tailor it to that. My wins. But there is an aspect that, yeah, you're going to always hurt people. And if my overall goal is not to hurt people. And I don't want people to feel that way. Like I don't want to feel it. It goes back to what I said earlier. I want to treat people the way I want to be treated. And something you said to me way back in the day, actually, and I think we were discussing this, is nobody throws shade on you who's doing better than you. And that has also driven me where I take a look at some people who have been angry with me or whatnot. And it's not everybody. There's plenty of people who've done better than me. But I don't want to do that to anyone else. And the caliber of people I went up against in the Katniss process was top notch. And I remember looking at the list of people, which was close to, I think, 40, 45 people. And I was like, oh my gosh, if I finish in the top 10, it'll be a miracle. And I was so, the journey and everything else that it went through, I was just so excited that it was again, in retrospect, it was an impulsive post, which isn't a bad thing. But in retrospect, I would have done it slightly different. And that's why I posted like the apology post, which then pissed off the people who were excited for me.
Oh, I threw my phone out the window. I saw that. I'm like, this motherfucker.
Oh man, that was almost the more comical part, is people being upset about my reposting or my,
I'm like, you apologize for nothing, sir. You take your wins